or 3 of the people that will be awarded next year are in this audience, so I'll leave you with that. And now I'd like to introduce Mayor Tom Figg again to speak on behalf of Orvene.
Madam Clerk, wherever you might be, I thought we had a limit of only 1 harbor commissioner that could attend at one time in the council. Is that? We've got one over there. Oh, an employee, I'm sorry. You're not quite up there yet. All right. We'll make an exception this time. Staff. Okay, so thank you so much for coming out and honoring people in our community, people that mean so much to us. And forgive me, Jim, I don't know when you guys kind of crossed over back in the 90s when you left, but I think this is the largest crowd we've had since the RV resort hearings. Remember those? But everybody had banners saying, "Kill those guys." Remember that? Okay, well, hopefully we're over those days. This recognition for both of these gentlemen is so long overdue and so well deserved. I'm here really to share a bit of history about Orvene. As I mentioned before, I've been here a bit, but half of my life has been spent working for the city. And so, as I mentioned, I had the privilege of working with the greatest leaders I think the city has ever seen. We'll get into that a little bit more, but so my perspective is from that of a former employee, a current council member, having shared a similar role that they did, and more importantly, as a friend. So it's coming from the heart. Orvene, 33 years on the council. Pretty amazing. He had 2 stints that stretched the period from 64 to 96, 4 times mayor, 33 years. He has the distinction of having the longest service of any councilman. During that period of time that he served, the city grew by nearly 50% in terms of population, in terms of its physical element. Why is that important? That's because Orvene has been instrumental in making our community the clean community that it is. Second of all, what's important, and if you don't like how it turned out, you know who to blame. So, well done, Orvene. All right, well, I'm going to give you a few of his notable accomplishments while he served as a council member. He helped double the size and the cargo capacity of the Harbor District with the city's first urban renewal project in the entire county. He helped reshape the entirety of the city south of Hueneme Road through a series of state-funded redevelopment projects. He instituted systematic building code enforcement, property maintenance, housing rehab programs that has been mentioned has made us the clean community that we are. He assisted in renovating Hueneme Beach. Some may remember the sorry state of Hueneme Beach back in the 60s and the 50s. He was instrumental in converting the ditch into the Bubbling Springs Recreation Corridor. He upgraded the city's streetscapes, changed the entire visual complexion of this community. Very much, we're proud of the fact that when you cross the line, you know you entered Port Hueneme. Yes, there were days that we weren't the best of friends, I understand. But Jim, as well as Orvene, were instrumental in crafting a series of settlement agreements that provide for the revenue sharing arrangement between the 2 entities. It links us physically at the hip. The district's success, the harbor's cargo operations are the city's success. And so thank you so much for providing the leadership to overcome those bumps in the road, so to speak. Finally, Orvene, you were here when we encountered the disposal of the Civil Engineering Laboratory, the first naval installation on the West Coast that was decommissioned, disposed of under the BRAC process. And that worked to the end benefit of the harbor. So thank you very much for that leadership. And perhaps the most notable accomplishment, or at least recognition we have for Orvene, he is by far the longest storyteller in Port Hueneme history. Okay, so that was council service. Now we're going to talk a little bit about community. Just as Jim, Orvene and his bride, Georgia, have long been members of a number of civic organizations. Sadly, a lot of our organizations have kind of died out, and that's something that, as council, we need to resurrect. But you were involved in so many of those organizations, many of them Jim was likewise part of. The Masons, the Bark Mansion, the Ray Pruder Library, Hueneme Beautiful, Harbor Days, and on and on and on. So your distinction isn't just council service. Orvene's civic engagement and activism was acknowledged by being named Citizen of the Year in 1985 and having the Port Hueneme Community Center named in his honor. Now, if memory serves me, you were one of the first honorees to be given that distinction of having a facility named in your honor while you're still living. Now, when I think about that, I'm not sure I want to highlight that on my resume, but it was well deserved. What makes him tick? What makes great leaders tick? In my mind, Orvene was one of the three greatest leaders the city has ever seen. And he shares with two other giants, Ray Pruder and Doral Wright. Together, those three gentlemen, Orvene, Doral, and Ray, served the city for 66 years. Now, why did these folks serve so long? What was their motivation? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Selflessness, dedication to community, not to self. So what are the attributes of leadership? Vision, compassion, inspiration. They never put themselves above others. They always recognize people before they recognize themselves for accomplishments. They lead by example, personal integrity, ethical behavior, and a profound sense of humility. Orvene possesses all of those traits, but what distinguishes him from the other community leaders is his soft-spoken persona, his unassuming nature. He also has a canny way of disarming you with endless stories that bring humor to every imaginable situation. Against all odds, it's one thing to talk about all the wonderful times and the accomplishments when we're all working together, but it's an entirely different road in the face of adversity, and that's when leadership really comes to the forefront. Orvene served on the council during a very controversial and divisive period of time in the city's history, and it forever changed the political landscape of this community. And I'm speaking of the ill-fated RV resort, the beach assessment district, which some people think of as the view tax. Those were very difficult times. All of those of us that were involved took our share of arrows, but none more so than the council, who put themselves in harm's way for what they believed to be in the community's best interests. I know this was terribly painful for you, Orvene. You gave so much to the city, and then shortly after all that nonsense, you vacated the seat, and you vacated a council that was then divided and a community that was disgruntled. And that's no way to go out after 33 years. Personal musings. You're a giant among all men. As Jim, you served in 3 wars. World War II, Korea, Vietnam. A devoted family man, a community supporter, and in my view, standing tall as an elected official in the face of adversity, not shying away from the challenge. When the political landscape began to change in the 90s, so did the city's stability and sense of purpose. To this very day, we continue the struggle to find solid ground. When I considered running for council in 2014, the first person I turned to was Orvene, a man I deeply admire and respect, and his response was predictable. First, he said, "Without question, Tom, I'll support and help you in any way I can for you to reach your goal." He then launched into a long-winded story, his love for Port Hueneme and the lessons learned. Several hours later, he concluded by saying, "Tom, we need to work on your demeanor and delivery." For those of you who may not know me personally, I've been known to be abrasive from time to time. The total opposite of Orvene, the soft-spoken gentleman. Yet our passion and our devotion to Port Hueneme are values that we hold in common. Orvene, thank you for your confidence in me, in supporting me that way. As for the demeanor and the deliver, I'm still working on it. Your shoes are hard to fill, so give me some time. What about the couple? We all know that behind every great man is an even greater force, the matriarch. Georgia is the person behind the curtain who quietly steers and corrects the behavior of her partner. As the matriarch, Georgia stays out of the limelight while tending to far more noble pursuits, raising a family, providing a home, and making the patriarch look good. Orvene and Georgia, married for 71 years, have raised 3 children, and they in turn have fathered 6 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. I'm still getting through my first set of kids. I congratulate you for that too. Their formula for success, no matter what each spouse does, they must together strive to be faithful, honest, and respectful to one another. Damn good advice. I wish I had it 30 years ago before I was married 3 times. In closing, how have the Carpenters influenced my life? Orvene, you're a man of honor, impeccable character. You exude integrity, trustfulness, and courage. Georgia, the devoted spouse whose wisdom and subtle diplomacy has raised a loving family and allowing Orvene to take all the credit. I know the last few years have been extremely painful for you too. You have had to endure the passing of dear family members. I feel your pain, but I salute your strength. Finally, I am forever indebted and grateful for having known both of you. Together, we share that common vision and love for this community, and you've done so much. I'm sorry. This honor is so long overdue, and I'm so grateful that we've had a chance to share it with you. I love you both. God bless. Thank you. Oh, I have a plaque, but we'll get to that.
And now I'd like to introduce 2 of Orvene's granddaughters, Janelle Anderson and Megan Hamlin.